Good day everyone, I am Samantha Nicole L. Miranda, the first reporter for this topic, which is the nature and effects of obligations. Article 1163, every person obliged to give something is also obliged to take care of with the proper diligence of a good father of a family, unless a law or a stipulation of the parties requires another standard of care. Now, this provision actually refers to an obligation to give a specific thing or determination. Specific thing. It refers to a thing that can either be designated or physically segregated to others from the same class. For example, Jas obliged himself to deliver to Sam a Toyota Vios with plate number ABC123. Dito, ang Toyota Vios na may plate number na ABC123 ay specific thing. Obviously, it was segregated from its class. Now, gawin naman natin itong generic thing. Ang generic thing is refers only to a class for genus and cannot be pointed out with particularity. For example, Jas obliged himself to Sam a car. Pwede ding Jas obliged himself to deliver to Sam a sedan car. And even, Jas obliged himself to deliver to Sam a Toyota Vios. Ang lahat ng mga yan ay tumutukoy pa din sa isang generic na bagay. What if ganito ang sentence? Jas obliged himself to deliver his only car to Sam. Dito ay naging determinate o specific thing dahil sa salitang his only car, meaning iisa lang ang car ni Jas. It is now particularly segregated from its class, right? At yung nag-iisang car ay ang pinangako niyang ibigay kay Sam. Next is duties of debtor in obligation to give and deliver a determined thing. Now let's go back to Article 1163. So, sa article na to, sinasagot ang tanong na ano ang tungkulin at obligasyon ng isang debtor in an obligation to give specific thing and they lead in a provision. Malalaman natin ang obligasyon ng isang debtor under obligation to give specific thing ay una, next slide, is to preserve the thing. Meaning, pending delivery, if you are the obligator, kailangan mo itong ingatan at alagaan. So, paanong pag-iingat ba? Ang sabi ng Article 1163, diligence of a good father of a family. In simple term, ang ibig sabihin nito ay ordinary diligence. Hence, preserving a thing to be delivered, the general rule is that the debtor must exercise diligence of a good father of a family unless the law or stipulation requires different standard of care. So, maliban na lamang kung ang dapat o nakasaad sa sunduan ay iba. Kung may ibang hinihingi na standard of diligence ang batas o ang mismong nakasaad sa kasunduan nyo, like for instance, sa mga common carrier, yung mga engage sa public transportation, sa kanila, the diligence required is more than that a good father of a family. They are required extraordinary diligence. So, in an obligation to give specific thing, diligence of a good father is required. They need to observe the diligence na nakakos ng damage that the person is liable. But this is not applicable to a generic thing. Why? Well, simply because generic thing, hindi mo naman kailangan ibigay ang mismong bagay. You don't need to be that specific thing. So, wala kang dapat iingatan dahil ibibigay mo pa. So, prior to delivery, nasira o na-damage o nawala ang Villa's car which just promised to Sam to deliver, always give Sam another car without violating his obligation. Whereas, on the other hand, if the thing is specific, hindi mo pwedeng ibigay, ibang bagay ang ibigay. It should be that specific thing. So, prior to delivery, you are as a debtor an obligation to take good care of a car. That's all. Next reporter.
Natural fruits are the product of the soil and other product of animal. It refers to things that are naturally produced without human intervention. These include crops or plants that grow spontaneously from the soil, like grass, plants, or trees. These fruits are considered natural because they are produced by nature. Natural fruits belong to the owner of the land or animals unless otherwise stated in a contract. The next one is industrial fruits. These are produced by land through the human labor. It refers to products that come from land as a result of human labor or cultivation rather than natural growth. These include things like corn, vegetables, and rice, or other resources that are grown or produced through active effort like farming or manufacturing. Unlike natural fruits, which grow on their own, industrial fruits require work or cultivation to generate economic value. The last one is civil fruits, are those derived by virtue of a juridical relation. It refers to benefits or profits that are earned as a result of legal relationship or contract rather than from physical labor or natural growth. For example, rental income from a leased property or interest earned on a loan are considered civil fruits. These profits arise because of a legal agreement, like a lease or loan contract, where one party receives benefits from another in accordance with the terms of the agreement. Essentially, civil fruits are earnings generated through legal rights or relationships, not through direct production or nature. Personal right is the right or power of a person to demand from another as a definite passive subject the fulfillment of the latter's obligation to give, to do, or not to do. This refers to the creditor's ability to demand that a specific person, known as the debtor, fulfills their obligation under a legal agreement. The obligation can involve giving something like money or property, doing something like completing a service, or refraining from doing something. The debtor is required to follow through their obligation because of the legal relationship between the two parties. The creditor, as the one owed, has the legal power to enforce the obligation and ensure it is carried out according to the agreement. Real right is the right or interest of a person over a specific thing without a definite passive subject against whom the right may be personally enforced. The creditor has a direct claim or interest over a specific thing like property or assets rather than a claim against a particular person. This right is tied to the object itself, not dependent on any individual. For example, if a creditor has a will right over a piece of land, they are entitled to the benefits, like rental income or fruits from that land, regardless of who owns or possesses it.
Good day everyone, I am the next reporter and I will discuss the remedies of creditor and the meaning of delay. remedies of creditors refers to the legal actions and options available to a creditor to recover debts owed by a borrower or debtor. That means the legal ways that someone who is owed money can try to get that money back from the person who owns it. This can include suing them or taking money directly from their wage. Next slide. The following remedies in case that debtor fails to comply with his obligations. First is demand specific performance fulfillment of the obligation with a right to indemnity for damages. This means the creditor can insist on the debtor completing their duty while also being compensated for any losses caused by the breach. Second is demand rescissions or cancellation of the obligations also with a right to recover damages. Ibig sabihin, the creditor can seek compensations for any losses suffered because of the breach and reinforcing the rights to be made whole after cancellation. Last is demand payment for damage only. Each of these remedies provide different avenues for the creditor to address a breach of obligations, and they can choose to insist on performance or cancel the contract while seeking damages or pursue only damages without further actions, and also the choice depends on the specific circumstances and the creditor's goals. Article 1166, the obligations to give a determinate things includes that of delivering all its accessions and accessories even though they may not have been mentioned. Ibig sabihin, that when someone has to give a specific item, they must also deliver everything that comes with it. Next is accessions. Accessions is a fruit of the things or improvements upon the additions to principal, like for example is house or land, or another example is air conditioner in the car, and rents of a building. That means, ibig sabihin, the creditor has the right to these accessions if they are due as part of an obligations to deliver a specific thing, even if accessions are not explicitly mentioned in the contract. They are included by the default. Risk is a things included with the principal for the latter's embellishment or better use or completions, like for example is machinery in a factory, and another example is a frame of a pictures. Accessories are also considered included in the obligations to deliver a determinate thing even if they are not listed in the agreement. Next is right of creditors to accessions and accessories. All accessions and accessories are considered included in the obligation to deliver a determinate things, although they may not have been mentioned, in order that they will be excluded. There must be stipulations to that effect. Creditors are entitled to receive not only the main item they have a right to, but also any additional item that are inherently connected to the item. This help ensures that creditors receive the complete value of their entitlement regardless of whether those items were explicitly listed in the agreement. Next po, meaning of delay. The word delay as used in the law is not to be understood according to its meaning in common parlance. A distinction should be made between ordinary delay and legal delay. First one is ordinary delay. Ordinary delay refers to the simplified failing to perform an obligations by the agreed upon deadline. This delay does not necessarily constitute a breach of contract. It might be due to minor inconvenience or situations that do not lead to legal repercussions, like for example, if a payment is one day late without any serious impact, it may be considered an ordinary delay. Next is legal delay. Legal delay, or mora, occurs when the failure to perform an obligation not only happens on time but also constitutes a breach of the contract. Ibig sabihin, that delay has legal implications potentially resulting in claims for the damages or the right for the other party to take legal actions. And legal delay implies that the debtor has not just delayed performance but has failed to meet their contractual duties, making them liable for any resulting consequences. Next slide is the kinds of delay. First is a mora aben, or the delay of the debtor. Failure on the part of the debtor. When the debtor fails to perform their obligation on time, this can happen due to various serious reasons, such as inability to pay or complete the agreed task, and the debtor is considered in a default, which may lead to legal consequences or claim for damages by the creditor. Next is mora acceptability or failure on the part of the creditor to receive the performance of the obligations. When the creditors fails to accept the performance of the obligations when the debtor is ready and willing to fulfill it. In this case, the debtor is not held liable for the delay as they were prepared to meet their obligations. Last is the compensations mora. Delay of obligors and reciprocal obligations. For example, delay of the debtor cancel the delay of the creditor. If the debtor is delayed in their performance, this may offer or cancel out the delay of the creditor. And if both parties are delaying, can claim damages for the other delay. That's all. Thank you. Next reporter.
Good morning. My name is Doriana Armeneta, and I will be the one who will be reporting for responsibility arising from fraud and negligence of the Philippines. So first, under the law of obligation, responsibility arising from fraud is demandable in all obligations, and any waiver of action for future fraud is void. Responsibility arising from negligence is also demandable in any obligation, but such liability may be regulated by the courts according to the circumstances. Let's proceed first to the Article 1170, part of the arising from fraud and negligence. So, what is Article 1170? Those who in the performance of their obligation are guilty of fraud, negligence, or delay, and those who in any manner contravene the tenor thereof are liable for the damages. So, what is really the Article 1170? So, ayon sa Artikulo 1171, ang mga responsibilidad mula sa pandaraya ay maaaring hingin sa lahat ng obligasyon, kahit anong pagtalikdan sa aksyon sa pandaraya sa hinaharap ay walang bisa. So, according to the time of commission, fraud may be past or future. The fraud referred to its article is the fraud that refers to the fulfillment of an obligation rather than the fraud which is the origin of the obligation. So there are two different articles refers to the two different frauds or dulus. So dolo quasante or casual fraud from the Article 1338 is a deception of a serious character employed by one party, without which the other party would not have entered in the contract. This is when fraud used to induce a person to agree to a contract. This kind of fraud is a ground for annulment or the contract plus damage. So I will be giving an example. So there was an ad offering work to female college students or graduate to work as an English tutor to reach Hong Kong families. But in the truth, that was a recruitment to work in a red light district or pleasure district. So in Tagalog, one of my example is that one of the agency offer a job from coming from the Hong Kong, from the graduates of teachers, especially major in English. They offered the agency offered them to tutor some rich families in Hong Kong. That is the contract that the agency did. But when those graduates already went to Hong Kong to tutor, they expected they have a job where they're gonna tutor the rich families in Hong Kong. However, when they land in Hong Kong, the job that they did is different from the job that the agency offered to them. So that is one of the papasok in the Article 117, which is the dolo causante or casual fraud. So, and also dolo incidente or incidental fraud for Article 1144, those which are not serious in character and without which the other party would still have entered in the contract. So for example is that Anne entered into a contract to deliver 500 canvas of rice to Noel with a price per caban of 1,300 pesos. Anne delivered 400 cabans but withheld the delivery of the remaining, stating that the price went up and the rice price will be 1,600 per caban. The fraud here is dolo incidental because it is committed to the existing contract. So Anne was the one who gonna be delivering a 500 cabans of rice, and Anne have a nagbigay siya ng price for 1,300 per caban for the 500 cabans that Noel ordered to Anne. However, Anne only just delivered a 400 cabans, and even though that he explained to Noel that the 100 cabans remaining that hindi niya pa na-deliver is she will be delivering it. However, the price will be increased because ayon kay Anne is that the rice is already went up, so kailangan niya din magtaas. So this will be under dolo incidente or incidental fraud because in the first place Anne already offered a 1,300 price to the 500 for the each caban of rice. However, there is already been a contract between Noel and Anne that Anne will gonna sell the one cabans as 1,300, and they already agree with, or they already have a mutual agreement regarding to the price. But Anne suddenly changed her mind. So Noel can file a lawsuit regarding to the agreement that they had with Anne because that is under dolo incidente or incidental fraud based on the Article 1144, and this will be under the arising from fraud and negligence of the Philippine Civil Code law. Next will be Article 1172. So, Article 1172 is responsibility arising from negligence in the performance of every kind of obligation is also demandable. But such liability may be regulated by the courts according to the circumstances. So, what is Article 1172? Article 1172 is the responsibility arising from negligence in the performance of every kind of obligation is also demandable, but also such liability may be regulated by the courts according to the circumstances, and this is also according to the Article 1103. So, responsibility arising from negligence demandable. Discretion of court to fix amount of damage. So, the second will be damage where both parties mutually negligent. So first, as an example of description of court to fix amount of damages. So, negligence is a question which must necessarily depend upon the circumstances of each particular cases. So, Article 1172 is a responsibility arising from negligence in the performance of every kind of obligation is also demandable, but such liability may be regulated by the courts according to the circumstances, as I mentioned earlier, which is under the Article 1103. One of the example is where both parties mutually negligence. So when both parties to a contract are mutually negligent in the performance of their respective obligation, the both may cancel or neutralize the negligence of the other. So, this will be highlighting the fault of one may cancel or neutralize the negligence of the other. So, there is two example of validity of waiver of action arising from negligence. So first is that an action for future negligence, not fraud, may be re-announced except for the nature of the obligation. Requires the exercise of extraordinary diligence is the case of common carriers. And the second one is where negligence is a gross or shows bad faith. It is considered equivalent to fraud. Bad faith does not simply cannot negligence or bad judgment causing damage to another. Any waiver or of action for future negligence of this kind is therefore void. So, an action of future negligence will not be considered as fraud. May be re-announced except where the nature of the obligation requires the exercise of extraordinary diligence in the case of common carriers. So, for example, is that driver S will not be liable for damages arising from negligence if the performance of this obligation. So, okay. Where negligence is gross, shows bad faith, it is considered equivalent to fraud. Bad faith does not simply cannot negligence or bad judgment causing damage to another. Any waiver of an action for future negligence of this kind is therefore void. So, gross negligence. So there will be three kinds of negligence based on the Article 1172. The first negligence will be contractual negligence, which is the culpa contractual, negligence in a contract resulting in their breach. So, for example, is that one of the companies let's just name it Company S. They already had a contract, a mutual agreement with the buyer, which is the Company B. Company B and Company S already had a agreement that they gonna deliver the 700 kaban of rice to the Company B on the specific date of May 7, 2024. However, the Company S didn't expect the due date or the delivery date, and they just informed or noticed the Company B that they not gonna deliver the 700 kabans of rice to Company B because there is some issues that happen in their company. There will be these scenarios will be fall under the contractual negligence, because before you already sign the contract of delivering the 700 kaban of rice to the Company B, you need to make sure that you have a capability to produce those products and deliver it on time, because you signed the contract and you had a mutual agreement between the Company B and also the Company S. And the second one will be civil negligence. Negligence, which by itself is the source of an obligation between the parties not so related before existing contract. So the example for this one is that, so a driver, whether it be of a car, motorbike, or bicycle, who runs a red light or stop sign and who causes an accident that harms another person, can be considered negligent. So that is one of the examples for the Article 1172, civil negligence or culpa aquilia. And the third one will be criminal negligence. Negligence resulting in the commission of a crime. So this is, for example, is that Yami is the driver of car carefully driven by bus owned by Black Bulls Incorporated. While traveling highway, Yami didn't notice Asta, a pedestrian, while crossing a pedestrian lane. Since the bus speed is not fast, Asta suffered serious but not fatal injuries. Yuno, or passenger of the bus, likewise suffered serious but not fatal injuries. So there is a question here in one of my examples, what action can Asta and Yuno take against Yami or Black Bulls Incorporated? So based on the given example is that Yami is the driver of a Yami drive a bus, and Yami is not overspeeding. The bus is just taking a speed as a normal. However, the driver of the bus, which is Yami, didn't notice that the traffic light is already been on the red. So there is a minor accident which causing Asta, the one who is walking in the pedestrian. So let's go now in Article 1173. So Article 1173. So the fault of negligence of the obligor consists in the omission of that diligence which is required by the nature of the obligation and correspond with the circumstances of the person, of the time, of the place. When negligence shows bad faith, the provision of the Article 11701 and 2201 paragraph 2 shall apply. If the law of contract does not state the diligence which is the observed in the performance, that which is expected of a good father of a family shall be required. So test of negligence. Did the defendant, in doing the alleged negligent act, use the reasonable care caution which an ordinary prudent man would have used in the same situation? If not, then he is guilty of negligence. By Mandarin Villa Incorporation versus Court of Appeals 257 SKA 538 of 1996. So there is a factors to be considered in determining existing of negligence. First is that nature of obligation. So, in the nature of obligations, for the example of this one is smoking while carrying materials known to be inflammable constitute negligence. In the Philippines, we have a basic rule. This is just for example. Pag nasa gasolinahan ka, most of the crew there remind you that do not use your cell phone near in the gas, and also do not light any inflammable materials that cause a further accident in the gas station. So, that is one of the example of the nature of the obligation. Hindi mo pwede gawin yun in some places that cause a accident and hurt a lot of people in that area. So, second is circumstances of the person. So, the example for this one is that a man in the prime of life, robust and healthy, sleeping while on duty, is guilty of negligence. So, in the Philippines, parang norm sa atin na every establishment in the Philippines has a guard. They ensure the safety of the specific buildings establishment, so their customer were felt relieved. So if that guard nahuli siya na hindi ginagawa yung trabaho niya, like sleeping while on duty, this will be fall under the circumstances of the person. So his job is to make everyone safe in that specific establishment, pero natulog siya. What if there is some criminals na hindi niya napansin na nakapasok sa establishment or building? That will fall under the negligence. Kasi hindi niya ginawa yung trabaho niya ng tama, and after that nag-cause siya ng incidents, and a lot of people hurt during that incident. The third one will be circumstances of time. This is example of this one is driving a car without headlights at night is gross negligence, but it does not by itself constitute negligence when driving during the day. So, we all know that cars have lights, and those lights will be used in the dark time. So, circumstances of the time, this example will be fall under the circumstances of the time, because it's already been night and you will be needing to use some light so you can able to drive safety at the dark. And syempre, para hindi ka rin, maiwasan mo yung aksidente and maka-aksidente ng iba. And the fourth one will be circumstances of the place. So, driving fast on the highways is permissible, but driving at the same rate of speed in road, which is always as a heavy topic, is gross recklessness. So, traffic rule. We have traffic rule in the Philippines, and this will be fall under the circumstance of the place. So, you will be needing to take responsible in the places that need or hindi pwede gawin. Like driving fast in a highway. If the highway is maluwag, you can able to drive fast without speed limit. But if there is a traffic in a specific road and you rode your car in you already reached this speed limit of the car, that will be fall under the circumstances of the place, because in the first place, if you're gonna drive fast in the road that has a lot of traffic, you will cause a serious incident in the specific place, and also in the people or in the other driver that are around you. Negligence is a question of fact, is existing being dependent upon the particular circumstances of each case. It is never presumed but must be proven by the party who allege it. The rules on fraud shall apply on gross negligence. So what is the gross negligence? The negligence when there is a total lack of care or diligence. So what is diligence? Diligence is the attention and care required of a person in a given situation in the opposite of negligence. So, diligence is the opposite of negligence. Diligence is the attention and care required of a person in a given situation and is opposite of negligence. So, kind of diligence required. So there will be the kind of diligence that will be required under the article of 1173. First is that agree upon by the parties orally or in writing. Second is in the absence of stipulation that is required by law in the particular case, like the extraordinary diligence required of common carriers and if both contract and law are silent, then the diligence expected of a good father of a family. That will be all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Renlyn Tuglas, and I'm going to explain the kinds of fortuitous events distinguished from force majeure. So there is two types. The first one is the fortuitous events, and the second one is the force majeure. So they have a difference, but they are both unforeseen events that can release parties from their contractual obligation, but they are not entirely the same. So I'm going to explain first the fortuitous events. So the fortuitous events, these are the events that occur naturally and are beyond human control, but are still expected to happen occasionally in the ordinary course of things. For example, ang mga pagbaha, bagyo, mga sudden mechanical breakdown or machinery, and the last one is the accidental fires. So I'm going to give an example about the accidental fires. Kunyari si Anna and si Jan, meron silang contract. Si Anna need niya mag-deliver ng goods kay John, but nagkaroon ng sunog sa bodega nila Ana. So before pa ma-deliver yung goods sa bahay nila John, nagkaroon ng sunog. So sa contract nilang dalawa, maaring hindi managot si Ana dahil nga merong accidental fire, and it occurs natural or beyond human control, and that is for the fortuitous events. The second one, I'm going to explain also the force majeure. What is the force majeure? So force majeure refers to a broader category or extraordinary occurrence, both natural and man-made, which prevent a party from fulfilling their obligation. It includes events that involve external forces or action of third parties, often involving human intervention. So for example, yung war, terrorism, riots or civil unrest, pandemics, kagaya ng COVID-19, labor strikes, or disruption in the supply chain. So I'm going to explain about under COVID-19. Kunyari, yung Event Pro, meron silang contract with John, yung Event Pro. So, sa kasal ni John, kinuha nila yung Event Pro. But, the Event Pro cannot proceed sa plan nila na magawa ng meeting or pagpupulong para dun sa kasal ni John dahil nga may pandemic. Nagbaba yung government na bawal yung pagpupulong o paglabas-labas ng mga lugar, yung mga tao, para nga maiwasan yung pagkalat ng COVID-19. So, yung contract ngayon ni John at ng Event Pro ay magkakaroon ng hindi ngayon mananagot yung Event Pro doon sa contract nila ni John. Dahil nga, itong COVID-19 or pandemic ay uncontrollable event or that prevents performance of the contract. So, hindi ito inaasahang pangyayari. That's why, hindi mananagot yung Event Pro sa contract nila ni John na dapat mangyari din sa kasal. So, that is under a force majeure. And the next one, I'm going to explain the simple loan or mutuum. So, what is a simple loan or mutuum? A simple loan, also known as a mutuum, is a type of loan in which one party or the lender gives another party, the borrower, a certain amount of consumable goods or money. So, the borrower is obligated to return the equivalent of what was borrowed, typically in money or goods of the same kind, quality. So, I'm going to give an example. Kunyari si Ana, nanghiram siya ng 500 pesos kay Ben. Ngayon, they are agree na babayaran ni Ana itong 500 pesos to this Friday. Ngayon, need ni Ana bayaran yung 500 pesos this Friday kasi nga, yun yung pinag-usapan nila. That is a simple loan. So, kung anong hiniram ni Ana, 500 pesos, yun din ang kailangan ibalik niya this Friday kay Ben sa napag-usapan nilang araw and also the amount. So, and no interest is involved unless they agree otherwise. That is, for example, of simple loan or mutual. And the next one, I'm going to explain also the transmissibility rights. What is the transmissibility rights? The transmissibility rights it simply refers to whether certain rights or obligation can be passed onto someone else, usually after a person dies. If a right is transmissible, or it means it can be inherited or transferred to another person, like when a family inherits a property, money, or even debts from someone who passed away. For example, when John passed away, yung mga anak niya, meron siyang naiwan na asset, kunyari yung bahay, yung sasakyan niya, yung mga pera niya sa bangko. And he has 2 children. So, kunyari, ang dalawang anak niya, si Ana and si John. Ngayon, according doon sa, sa transmissibility rights, yung mga gamit or asset ni John, pwede niyang ipamana yun sa dalawa niyang anak. So, yung bahay, yung kotse, yung mga pera niya sa account niya, sa bank account niya, ihahati yun kay John and Ana. And that is the example for transmissibility rights. That's all for my report. Thank you again.